Y'all ready? Yeah. Let's go. Come on.
Tiger Rag Radio is on the air.
Let's crank this thing up.
We're statewide, breaking down the latest happenings with LSU athletics.
This is us.
Hear from the coaches,
Put together a defense that puts us in a position to win the SEC.
the players,
Having fun and we working, baby. That's it, baby.
the recruits,
Show some passion and some heart.
and those who cover the Fighting Tigers of LSU and the
All
SEC.
those things are going to be there, which are important.
It's 2 hours of nonstop LSU
What
talk.
a privilege. I mean, you get to represent LSU.
Tiger Rag Radio is brought to you by Cummins. Cummins creates power solutions that the world depends on. Helm Paint and Decorating. The paint experts of Louisiana. Louisiana Beef Industry Council. Max Home. And the East Baton Rouge Parish Library. Get ready to talk Tigers with producer Jackson Blackman and hosts Todd Horne, Jeff Palermo, and Glenn Guilbeau.
You've got players that are better people than they are players.
This is Tiger Rag Radio, live from Super Chevy Dealers Studio.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Tiger Rag Radio from the Super Chevy Dealers Studio. I'm Jeff Palermo, News and Sports Director of Louisiana Radio Network, along with the Executive Editor for Tiger Rag Magazine, Todd Horne, and the Editor, Glenn Guilbeau. Great show lined up for you tonight. We'll have Preston Guy of TigerBait.com. He'll join us in about a half hour. We'll hear from former LSU Tiger quarterback Rohan Davey. Looking forward to that conversation at the top of hour number 2. And we'll also hear from Charles Hanagriff with ESPN 104.5, 104.9. Glad you could be a part of the show as we look back at last Saturday's frustrating loss to Ole Miss. What needs to happen to get the Tigers back in the win column? They will play again October 11th against South Carolina. It will be a night game. We know that for sure. Don't know the exact time. So, fellas, what do you want to start with about how good of an addition Grant Chadwick's been? We know now Whit Weeks and Landry Kiffin have been dating since March. Where do you want us to go? Where do you want to start? Any of those topics get you going?
I want to start with this Cubs T-shirt you're wearing. Are you trying to rub it in on the fact that the Astros aren't in the playoffs for the first time?
See, that's why you're so observant,
2016.
Maybe
Cubs, enjoy it. It's only going to be a few days.
It might be. It might be. So that's why I will enjoy it for at least today. But seriously, this offense is broken. And it needs some major fixing, and I don't know if the bye week is long enough to fix this offense.
Well, I told you a couple of weeks ago when you asked me what the problem was with the offense, I told you they sucked. And I think that that's pretty much the conclusion that everybody has come to right now, especially after watching an Ole Miss team, which last in the conference going into this game in rushing defense, sit there and run a three-man front and drop 8 and dare you to run the football, and your 5 offensive linemen who are brutal, and Brian Kelly knows offensive linemen because he's a specialty in offensive linemen in his 35-year history, so he knows that he's bullish on them. They can't even block 3 people to give LSU 4 or 5 yards a pop whenever Ole Miss, the worst team against the rush, is begging you to run the ball. It was horrible. It's a, what's the term? It's not neglect, but it's a dereliction of duty. I'm so upset with the fact that those coaches don't know what they're doing, apparently. And I'm just talking about what we see. I'm not talking about subjective judgment. I'm just talking about factual observation.
Well, so you think they should have ran a lot more? Try to run more?
I absolutely. I think that
maybe
they should be able to run a lot more.
Okay, that's different.
Okay,
that's different.
They ran 15 RPOs on early downs, which is exactly what they should have done, but they couldn't execute them because the offensive line can't block, and these are 4- and 5-star players that Kelly's bullish on.
Well, no, there's some 3-stars in there. The transfers are 3 stars. Josh Thompson's a 3-star.
Okay, all right, but they're playing for LSU, and Kelly's supposedly an offensive line guru.
But what I'm saying is, though, Ole Miss was daring them to run.
Ole Miss was saying you can't run. That's what they were doing.
Yeah, but I mean they were playing just a 3-man front, so you'd think LSU should have been able to run. But my point is, they didn't really try to run. So I'm thinking they think they're a worse running team than you think
They
are.
ran 24 plays in the first half, and they attempted to run 15 times through an RPO. Okay, not counting the just set runs. So every one of those 15 plays of the first 24 in the first half of those 15 plays could have been runs and probably should have been runs, but the quarterback couldn't even make an accurate decision because he had Ole Miss players up on him right away. And
so he audibled out of them?
He didn't know. They ran 15 RPOs, run pass options. So he had the opportunity to either run it or pass it based on the read.
Right.
Okay, but he didn't have time to make a decision.
So what did he do? Run or pass?
Well, 9 times they ran.
Right, and not well.
No, because they can't block. 5 of their players can't block 3 of them.
Right.
This has been an issue, though, since Brian Kelly has arrived. Jaden Daniels masked a lot of these problems in 22 and especially in 23. We saw how bad it was in 24, and then here in 25, it's worse.
Well, and the thing is they brought in Alex Atkins to basically change, at least partially change, the blocking scheme from an inside zone to more gap type blocking. And you heard Kelly after the game complain that they couldn't even do their gap integrity correctly on the offensive line. They just don't execute, and they suck. That's all there is to it. When it comes down to it, they are not any good. Now, can they get better? Absolutely. Can they get better in 2 weeks? Well, the good news is they don't have to get that much better because South Carolina is just a little bit worse than Ole Miss was against the run. So maybe they can work for 2 weeks on it and then come out and get a little confidence boost again by going against somebody who's horrible in the run. Then the other question is, if you're going to rely, the other thing to do against that, 3 drop 8 is to be very patient and run check downs and short passes to manipulate that as an extension of your run. And they couldn't even execute that well, partially because for parts of the game, your 5-star, your 5th year quarterback who was a Heisman hopeful or Heisman leader coming into the season can't even hardly complete passes because he's inaccurate a lot of the time. Now, I know he was accurate at times this game, and he was great against Southeastern last week, but there's something wrong with his ability, and maybe it's mental, maybe it's physical. I don't know. I just know that they're broken, and I don't know how they can be fixed.
I don't have much faith that they can be fixed, Todd, because it goes back to my statement that I just made a minute ago. They've had trouble running the ball since Brian Kelly arrived.
Right.
Tyrion Davis-Price is the last 1,000-yard rusher at LSU. He was that was 2021 Ed Orgeron's final season here. And LSU, looking at their group of running backs, I mean, Caden Durham is hurt. Second year in a row, this guy gets hurt. Juwan Johnson has only been a running back for a year. Caleb Jackson has not developed. Harlan Berry, I think that's a lot to ask out of him to save the day at this point.
Well, yeah, but and your points are, I mean, I get your points and they're valid. They really are. But who could, Davis Price couldn't run if nobody's blocking.
Well, I agree with you. I guess I think we could all agree this offensive line is struggling. It's been struggling to run the football again since 2022. There is one common denominator, and well, maybe 2 if you count the head coach. In all of that since 2022, it's the head coach and the position coach. Regardless of who the players are, who's getting drafted, if they're veterans, if they're young, and I don't see it just changing overnight or in a week's time against South Carolina. But the other thing to that, though, Todd, is I don't think they've done a really bad job in cultivating running backs.
Yeah, the LSU, the main problem is the offensive line and the run philosophy and just the culture. But really, how many running backs are there in the NFL from LSU?
Well,
they haven't really had a great running back since Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And I think he might be the last one in the NFL. But
Josh Williams is in the NFL.
Well,
okay, yeah, he's in there. But I mean, there's not nearly as many like receivers or quarterbacks.
But you had Le'Veon Moss, who was a Baton Rouge kid. You don't recruit him. Dang it, mind block here. The kid that went to Tennessee, Dutchtown running back, didn't recruit him. Ahmad Hardy for ULM had a great season for the Warhawks last year. You're supposedly the transfer portal kings. This kid, you just neglect the position in the transfer portal. And I understand they thought Trey Howley was coming back, and maybe that was their thinking. But now Trey Howley he's got twice as many rushing yards than anybody else in the SEC for Missouri. It's like you've just neglected a position. And and you guys know I love Jawan Johnson. I think he's a fantastic player, but he's in a difficult spot at this point. Harlem Berry's at a difficult spot in this point because you're asking these guys, they're not ready. They're not ready. And Caleb Jackson, the guy you should be ready, he's I don't know if he's any good. We never saw him really playing high school football. He didn't even play his senior season.
Well, we know he didn't
catch the ball.
Yeah, that was a big drop.
I mean, it's just.
I mean,
You what was the word you used at the beginning? You said
derelict.
Derelict. I would say neglect too. They brought in Braylon Moore and Josh Thompson, but they could have gone out and gotten a veteran offensive tackle. I mean, how many more wide receivers do you need? 15?
Well, you don't need any because you can't even throw the ball to him.
Well, he started throwing better in the second half. They were, in fact, he threw some passes right there, but the guys were covered. Chris Hilton doesn't seem to be able. Great receivers, even when they're covered, if it's one-on-one, they come down with it. I haven't seen Hilton really do that. But it's weird with Nussmeier because sometimes he throws awful passes. He underthrew Chris Hilton big time in the third quarter, and Hilton came back so far to get it that he drew an interference on it. But and then sometimes he throws well, but the flight of the ball is what looks different too. There's like nothing behind it.
There's nothing there.
Yeah, there's no zip. He's still accurate sometimes, but they're kind of floaters and they're in the air too long, which is dangerous. But the only way they can win is if the defense plays great and they can manage a couple of drives a game.
Give them a short field.
Yeah. They that's the only way they can win. And the way they played in that game, it really changes or at least it changes my opinion of several games now that I thought were probable wins. Suddenly Alabama looks a lot better. They look terrible. Oklahoma is a lot better than I thought. A&M is going to be a tough game.
Yep.
So that's potentially 4 losses right there,
and the bottom line is that they can win every single game that they have left. They could. They could also lose every single one except probably Western Kentucky. Every other game's going to be in play.
I think they'll handle Arkansas at home. A&M is they're kind of up and down.
I'm not predicting any of the games. What I'm saying is if they play like they did offensively on Saturday, there's not a shoe-in victory on that schedule.
And it's funny though, they did score on their last 3 offensive possessions against Ole Miss. Now one of them was a short drive for a field goal after a turnover. The other one was an okay drive for a field goal. And then their best drive of the game was the 80-yard drive at the end of the where they scored to get within 24-19. So it's kind of a weird game.
The most horrifying aspect of the whole game was they got whipped physically on both sides of the ball from the majority of the game.
Let's take a break here on Tiger Rag Radio. We'll be right back after this.
Chevy trucks have you covered when the road takes you from smooth sailing to Chevy Colorado will eat up some of the toughest terrains with 5 available drive modes. And Silverado and Silverado HD have the muscle to take you out for some serious With multiple engine options and impressive towing, well, Silverado EV is the perfect combo of performance and capability.
Nice.
Making it a snap to hitch up this electric truck and hit the road. Wherever the road leads, Chevy trucks are right there with you. See your Super Chevy dealers today.
And we're back with Tiger Rag Radio, live from Super Chevy Dealers Studio.
Back here from the Super Chevy Dealer Studio, Jeff Palermo, News and Sports Director of Louisiana Radio Network, along with the Executive Editor for Tiger Rag Magazine, Todd Horne, and the Editor, Glenn Guilbeau. So, Todd, right before the commercial, are you giggling?
Yeah, go ahead.
Why is that?
I want to see if you're going to come with what I thought. Go ahead.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, we'll see if this is what you thought I was going
to. Todd's the Ole Miss defense, Jeff. You're the LSU offense. Let's see if you can get it right.
Probably not. How many guys are you rushing? Just 3?
Two? Why should I? Yeah, maybe 1.
You were mentioning they got whooped on both sides of the ball. What's your level? Do you still feel that this is a really good defense?
I do, and I've had this ongoing conversation with Glenn starting this morning in our production or editorial meeting or whatever. I still believe in the defense. They did get whipped at the line of scrimmage, but a lot. But I think the reason for that was primarily because they were tired. And I know Brian Kelly said they weren't tired. You cannot go that long, especially in the first half, and not get tired. And you may not, Weeks puked on the field. I mean,
that was early in the game.
Yeah, I used to puke on the field on the opening kickoff, but that was nerves.
Yeah, I think that's what it was, and they're not used to playing early in the day. Maybe he ate too late, but they had halftime to rest, and before the last drive. The LSU had the ball for 6 minutes.
When you
got time to rest.
50 plays is the equivalent to the amount of plays that they would have played normally in a whole game.
Well,
okay, and you don't get a 15-minute break to recover from a football game.
But the plays they were giving up in the second half weren't really because of fatigue. They were getting kind of out game planned and kind of fooled.
They were getting fooled.
So I guess fatigue can have something to do with that. But I can't. I'm not putting. You can't put all that on fatigue.
You can't.
You can put it all on fatigue.
I know. I said I'm not putting it all on fatigue,
okay.
But what I'm saying, it played a major role in it. And if you don't think it did, then you just don't know what you're talking about, because you cannot go play a football game, a physical football game, which is basically what they played in the first half.
I guess they shouldn't have gone out in the second half even. I mean, if they played 50 plays in the first half, why even go out?
Yeah, just quit. That's what you would do.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. Just quit.
Let me ask another question. Good game from Trinidad Chambliss. Has LSU have they still not been able to figure out the dual threat quarterback?
Well, the problem
they were tired. They were tired, Jeff. So it really doesn't matter if they figured it out or not, because they were going to fall down.
I think we might see another physical altercation take place in the studio here at the Super Chevy Dealer Studio pretty soon. Because
300 and you'd still be wrong.
314 yards passing for Chambliss and 71 yards rushing.
Glenn, have you ever played a football game in your life?
No, Coach. I haven't.
I'm not being a coach. I'm just asking you from personal experience.
No, Coach, I haven't.
Okay, well, 50 plays
is a lot.
Okay?
In an up-tempo offense.
Well, I was just saying that even if LSU knew how to defend a running quarterback this year better than last year, it doesn't matter because they were tired.
Now, if we can talk about something without you being a jerk and interrupting me the whole time, Blake Baker's blitzing scheme, especially in a hurry-up offense, does not work as well against a running quarterback. Okay? That's just a fact.
Yeah, they were overrunning the lanes. They said that on television.
So I guess they still haven't solved that problem.
Well, I mean,
they were running pretty fast in the second half.
Well,
everything we talk about, the defense still only gave up 24 points.
You're right about that. Let me ask you this. How badly outcoached was LSU in this game?
As bad as I've ever seen LSU be outcoached.
Including Curly Holman days?
I can't hardly remember the 90s.
He played too much football. He's tired.
Yeah, that's it.
No, I agree. I mean, that was a clinic, and I've been I've been a Lane Kiffin guy, and I was disappointed in Lane last year when he couldn't get it done with the investment that they had made with that defense that they had last year. I thought last year was certainly the year for Ole Miss. I thought when they made the change from Ed Orgeron, Lane Kiffin would be a really good get for LSU. I thought he could recruit at a high level. He's an excellent play caller, and he ran circles around LSU's coaching staff that game. He mismanaged the game last year, and coaches have bad games just like players do. So I'm not ready to anoint Lane Kiffin as the next Nick Saban out there, but to me, there was a sizable difference in coaching.
I agree with that, but it's going to get even more sizable as the year goes on because you're going to see that Ole Miss is going to lose 2, maybe 3 games in conference.
But could you say that about every SEC team, basically, outside of Texas, because their schedule is so light?
They could, yeah, you could say that.
I think you're going to see a lot of these teams beating each other just like they did a year ago.
But I don't think Ole Miss is that good. I think they have a good offense, and I think that quarterback it presents challenges like we're talking about. But that defense is not good, and anybody that has a game plan worth of whatever is going to be able to manipulate it and do well against it because they're not good defensively. They don't have anybody on that defense that I saw that's going to be in the NFL.
All right, we're going to take a break. We'll get to our first guest of the show, and that is a good point. I mean, LSU's defense is filled with NFL guys, while that Ole Miss defense, I'm not exactly sure if that's the case. Preston Guy of TigerBait.com, he'll join us when we come back. After this break, we still have to get to Rohan Davey, Charles Hanagriff. They will all join us on the Max Home Hotline. This is Tiger Rag Radio from the Super Chevy Dealer Studio.
The hot summer months are in the year view mirror. Let's enjoy fall and have a fun time doing it with your East Baton Rouge Parish Library. The 12th annual Baton Rouge Maker Fair will feature movie magic on October 18th and go back in time with the library on October 25th with Talking About a Revolution, an all-day patriotic event. Have fun with all of the library's silly, spooky programs for adults, teens, and kids. Visit ebrpl.com for more details.
Tiger Rag Radio. The details do matter. Every step, every hand on the ground, every route, everything that we do has a purpose. We are really focused, and our attention to detail is going to be unmatched.
Back on Tiger Rag Radio from the Super Chevy Dealer Studio. Jeff Palermo along with Glenn Guilbeau, who is not tired tonight, the editor for Tiger Rag Magazine, and then Todd Horne, who is angry.
No, I'm not angry.
Yes, you are. Well, maybe now he's not because he had a cathartic experience.
I'm not angry anymore because I've realized that I should quit letting people provoke me. But Glenn pointed out,
maybe you should stop provoking them.
Glenn pointed out I provoked him first.
Okay,
I
wow.
apologize.
This is like Michael Cabo and Brian Kelly.
We're all angry, as Brian Kelly said. We're all angry.
We've kissed and made up.
Okay. Well, All right.
You wish. I do want to make a quick comment about something Kelly said on the Paul Finebaum show.
Yeah.
And it brought back a bad memory. He said I didn't like the plan.
Yeah.
He said he didn't like the game plan, and I'm sitting there. You're the head coach.
Yeah, right.
It's your plan. Because Les Miles used to do that all the time.
Yes.
He would criticize the game plan, and I'm sitting there. You're the coach. So I just thought that was amazing.
All right, let's bring in our first guest joining us on the Max Home Hotline. It's Preston Guy from TigerBait.com. Preston, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, guys. It sounds like I'm maybe a little less angry than y'all.
Well, good. We need some new blood.
At least BK hasn't pulled a Lou Tepper and been like, "Hey, man, the game plan's perfect. They're just not smart enough to learn my system."
Yeah, well, that's a good point. I mean, at least he does. It's funny though. You make a good point because no matter what he says, he's not going to win the fans over. Because if you say the game plan was good and you lost, then you're hard-headed. If you say the game plan was bad, they're like, "Well, why'd you come up with it?" But anyway.
But it begs the question, Preston, why didn't they make adjustments to the game plan, and why couldn't they run the football with 5 against 3?
Well, the short answer is anything they tried, they weren't very good at this weekend. This offense was anemic. You're 90th in the country in total yards. You're 121st in the country in rushing offense. And, a lot of it starts up front. Those 5 guys, I mean, this is a pretty subpar unit that we've seen so far. They can't run block and they can't pass block. But anytime you have a situation where they're dropping 8 and you have 5 offensive linemen to block 3 rushing linemen and you can't get your quarterback 3 seconds, that's a losing formula. You're just getting whooped one-on-ones. And that's not a play call situation or anything. That's just why the heck can't you block, 5-on-3? Because when you got 8 guys in coverage, it's pretty tough to find an open receiver in 2 seconds, right? You need about 3 seconds at least, ideally 4 to 5. That's like the golden rule for offensive linemen. But on a 5-on-3, that's really not even that crazy to get 5 seconds to pass against that. But you're not even getting 2.5, and Nussmeier's running for his life. So that's where the problems start.
I read somewhere where he was getting like 2.1 seconds on average every time you drop back to pass.
Yeah, that's probably about right. And, to compound that, make that problem worse, I don't know if he's playing hurt or if for some reason the 4,000-yard passer just decided he wants to suck. But he can't throw the ball more than 15 yards accurately. And something's off.
Well, he's healthy.
So that made it worse.
Well, we know Brian Kelly said he's healthy, so he's healthy.
So Brian must just think he's terrible if he's healthy.
I guess he just sucks then. Well, yeah. I don't know what the explanation is.
It's so weird though, man. It's so weird because in the fourth quarter, he threw a couple of long passes right on the money. They weren't completed. They were to well-covered receivers, but they were right there. And he still, you notice before the snap, sometimes like when he comes up the shotgun, he jumps up and down. You'd think if he has a hurt abdomen, landing on his feet after a jump would hurt. But it's like, because I've been watching him and he doesn't seem like he's hurt until he throws the ball, and it flutters. He puts too much air under it sometimes, and he's not on top of the ball. A friend of mine who did play football told me he's not on top of the ball, and the ball's like fluttering off. You notice that
he is throwing more of a 10 o'clock than an 11 or a 12. But Preston, do you think they can correct some of these offensive woes heading into the South Carolina game, into this open date?
The way I look at that is I've got good news and bad news. Okay, none of the problems that they have easy fixes. That's the bad news.
Wait, what was that? I didn't catch it.
The bad news is none of the problems that they're having have an easy fix.
Right.
Bad
what
offensive line.
What are you going to do to magically?
Can't fix a bad offensive line.
What are you going to do? There's no magic play call that you can do to make your offensive line start bulldozing defensive linemen. There's nothing, okay? Maybe Jack Tyburn at fullback where you're averaging 51 yards per carry, but by God, if you have something successful, never call it again. That's the philosophy here in play. But, there's not that you could do some tweaks, maybe some fullback usage, some under center I formation type stuff, maybe a power running game being implemented. Maybe that could help. Maybe they can call a few more run plays. Maybe they can tweak them. But again, I don't think this offensive line is just magically going to look up and be an average unit anytime soon. The Nussmeier issue, I don't know that you just bench Nussmeier and put Michael Van Buren in.
Me either.
He's incredible. He looked awful in fall camp. Glenn, you saw it.
Right.
He looked awful.
Exactly.
Now, there are players who come into the game and are gamers and look really good.
Rohan Davey.
We'll
be talking to him later in the show. Yeah.
There you go. Great example, right? And maybe that's what Michael Van Buren is, but I don't know if that's a 100% solution. So none of these problems do I know if there's an easy fix for, because they've tried a lot. This offense has had a ton of wrinkles, and maybe that's the solution in and of itself. You need to simplify things and focus on 15 to 20 plays that you can get right. However, the good news is you don't have to go out there and be world beaters, okay? That defense was on the field for 86 plays against the Lane Kiffin offense with a red-hot quarterback, and they held them to 24 points. So go out there, be serviceable, hold on to the ball. Don't be a 3-and-out machine and give your defense a little help. Play good field position, pin them back, and score 25 points. That's your mission. And I think with this defense, I still believe this defense is pretty elite and good enough to help you win any game as long as your offense is servicing it. That's it. That's the mission. We're not asking you to go out there and be world beaters. So that's the good news.
Is there, when you look down the schedule and taking into account everything you just said, which games worry you the most moving forward?
I mean, which games don't worry you the most? This is a brutal schedule. I mean, and look, the way I said it I went on a little rant on my show last night.
Oh, see, that's why you're not upset now. You got that out, didn't you? Now you feel better.
Monologue. Yeah, I got all the emotions out right there. But, I mean, look, if you don't right the ship on this offense and the offense continues playing as putrid as it has been, 8-4 might be your ceiling. So, yes, Texas A&M scares me. Yes, Alabama scares me. Oklahoma on the road, that scares me. Hey, even Vanderbilt is scary these days.
That's a dangerous game, man.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like you talk about which games scare. They all scare me is the answer. If you don't fix this offense, we could be looking at something pretty disastrous. So I would say until your offense starts playing much better football, I'm not worried about losing 1 or 2 games. I'm worried about losing 4 or more.
Who would have thunk it?
It was such a weird game though, because as bad as they played, they could have won that thing. You know, the touchdown drive that Ole Miss had to go up 24-13, they converted a 3rd and 14 on that. You know, that was ridiculous that guy was that open. Their previous touchdown drive, they had 5 penalties against LSU. You know, it was so weird. And then, you know, I don't think LSU would have scored if they'd have got the ball back, if they'd have made a stop on Ole Miss's last drive. Because LSU's offense, even when it's good, it's kind of plodding. I don't think they would have scored, but it'd have been nice to see them get a chance. But that touchdown they gave up after they got within 17-13, that was the one they needed to stop. Then they'd have had more time. But it was just a weird game because at times the defense played really well, and then bam, they gave up big plays.
Yeah, it was a strange game. You know, they almost doubled your yardage.
Yeah,
that's always a strange situation when a team has more than 200 yards more than you, yet you're within a touchdown of winning that thing. And a lot of that I attribute, first off, penalties were outrageous in this game. I mean, that was some heavy-handed refs all game long. So that played a major factor. What also contributed to that was 2 just very well-timed turnovers by LSU, where Ole Miss is driving down the field, making plays, and then boom, stop them dead in their tracks.
And they got that touchback too. Well, that was one of them, I guess. The touchback, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's you know, an interception. And hey, almost another interception for DJ Pickett, which would have really changed that game, made it 14-3.
Do you believe that was interference? Do you believe that was interference on Pickett?
I think in this football game, the way they were calling it, if you breathe on the guy, it was interference. My goodness. So, you know,
announcers thought it was. But I didn't. It was close.
It was ticky-tack. That's how I label that, ticky-tack, which here's the way I look at ticky-tack calls like that. If the refs are going to call a consistent game and they were calling ticky-tack stuff on Ole Miss, then fine. That's what you're calling today, right? This isn't a let-them-play type day. But if guys have been, you know, in their face all day and then you're finally going to call it on that play, that's when I'm going to get upset. But, yeah, they were calling a consistent game. But, yeah, that was ticky-tack. I mean, if I was an official, I'd probably keep it in my pocket because I prefer to just let them play football, not have a flag fest. But, you know, yeah, ticky-tack is how I'll answer that.
Preston, thanks a lot for your time tonight, man. We appreciate your thoughts on the Tigers. We'll see if they can turn this around, but I don't have much hope they will. 8-4 could be what we're looking at here, but we'll see. We'll see. Still a lot of talent on this team, a lot of games to be played. Preston, thanks a lot. Appreciate it, man.
All right, fellas. Talk to you soon. Thank you.
All right, Preston Guy from TigerBait.com on the Max Home Hotline. We'll take a break. More of Tiger Rag Radio from the Super Chevy Dealers studio when we come back.
Now more Tiger Rag Radio, live from Super Chevy Dealers Studio.
Back here on Tiger Rag Radio, Jeff Palermo, along with the executive editor for Tiger Rag Magazine, Todd Horne, and the editor for TigerRag.com, Glenn Guilbeau. We have not really heard from Coach Brian Kelly since, as we're doing this show on a Tuesday night, have not heard from Brian Kelly since the loss to Oxford. He did make his weekly appearance on Paul Finebaum, and he kind of said the same thing over and over again. Here is one soundbite from that interview with Paul Finebaum on the SEC Network.
Our practices, our teaching, our meetings have to be so much more detailed and the specifics of how to do our jobs on a play-to-play basis. And that's caused us inconsistency because we haven't been detailed enough, and in particular on offense.
Todd?
Who's in charge of the meetings? Is my question. Okay, I think Brian Kelly might be trying to be the CEO coach, and he lets people kind of be on their own doing their jobs until they mess up. Now he's taking over. That doesn't always work.
And if I'm not mistaken, that was in the context of him talking about the overall offensive game plan and how the game plan made him angry after he reviewed it from Sunday to Monday, I guess.
Well, how about making him angry during the game and changing it during the game? Well, that's what other coaches do.
Well, and that's another point. That's a good point because I noticed during the game that Nussmeier was frustrated on the field, and that Kelly was very frustrated on the sideline, and then they kept showing Joe Sloan in the press box, and I believe he was frustrated because he had these strange looks on his face all the time.
Especially when Nussmeier called that timeout.
Yeah, that was interesting. Todd, why do you think Nuss called timeout
I don't know, because I was sitting there by myself watching the game.
Neither did Kelly and Sloan.
If you think I was angry here, you should have seen me then.
But it was weird because he called timeout and Kelly is all upset.
Yeah.
And then they show Sloan and he's going like, what is he doing? And then Nussmeier's on the sideline and he's obviously got an explanation because he was talking to Kelly for a good bit, and then Kelly's yelling at him again. So, that's going to be a question that's asked tomorrow.
Yeah, so Brian Kelly does speak twice tomorrow in the SEC coaches teleconference, which I don't know why they call it a teleconference anymore, but because it's Zoom. But anyways, and then he does meet with the media on Wednesday night, so we'll see what kind of answers. Do you think he'll change his tune a little bit on the Nussmeier injury stuff, or does he still hold on to this belief that he's okay?
Boy, I don't know, man. It's weird. He might be saying he's healthy, like there's no structural damage or something, or who knows. But he's obviously not throwing the ball like he used to. And maybe it's not an injury that's going to get better. Or I'm sorry, maybe it's not an injury that's going to get worse, so they can play. That happens a lot in football. Like the guy's got some kind of an injury, but he can play through it and then have surgery after the season. Or maybe this isn't a surgery injury. I don't know. I don't know how Brian's going to handle that. Go ahead, Todd.
So that begs the question, and I know, like with Preston, Glenn, you were just talking, and y'all seem to reach an agreement that unless Underwood's a gamer and not he hadn't looked good in practice or what have you. And I'm not saying. You said Underwood.
Bryce Underwood.
That would be great if it was Underwood. This could be an entirely different season.
So Van Beeren, okay. I guess it's just.
Boy, we would have a quarterback controversy on our hand if Underwood was on this roster.
Seriously, right?
This team needs a quarterback controversy.
Well, you know what they say, always it's the second string quarterback's the most popular guy in town. And that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if you can't run the football, which they've proven they can't do, if you can't block, meaning run block and pass protect, and you have a quarterback that is not healthy, 100% healthy, who's not throwing the ball accurately like he usually does and can't throw the ball as deep like he is accustomed to doing, and he certainly can't run well, even though he runs better than he does run, then why wouldn't you at least substitute Van Beeren in sometime?
Yeah, that's what I said in my Saturday night column.
Well,
like, put them in here and there, like spot duty.
Well, we saw a lot of Wildcat with Juwan Johnson in preseason camp. How come we haven't? What happened to that package? That package that I heard about 1,000 times during preseason camp.
And that goes back to my question. All I saw were zone blocks. Now, maybe I didn't see everything, but I saw the same inside zone blocking scheme where they're sliding and missing reaches and all that. But Kelly talked about they missed their gap integrity, so that alludes to that they were trying to pull and do counters and traps and things like that. I didn't see it, but he alluded to it.
High formation, man. That's what they got to do.
High formation, fullback, halfback toss. Let's bring back the Les Miles playbook and let's roll with that. Just kidding. We'll be back after this here on Tiger Rag Radio from the Super Chevy Dealers Studio.
You should call that radio station and let him have it.
Good idea. 1-800-673-5555.
I want to be under the bright lights. I want to be on the Broadway stage.
Tiger Rag Radio is on now.
Back here on Tiger Rag Radio as we close out hour number one. Jeff Palermo, News and Sports Director from the Super Chevy Dealers Studio, along with the editor for Tiger Rag, Glenn Guilbeau, and the executive editor, Todd Horne. Guys, we all went into this season saying this was a critical year. This was a college football playoff or bust season. And it's one loss. They certainly can improve. Maybe it was just maybe they hit rock bottom. Who knows? We'll see. But if they don't make the college football playoff, we know the ramifications will be really big because you're going to lose a lot of really talented players off of this defense. You're going to lose your quarterback. Regardless of what he does this season, this still is a 4,000-yard passer. And I think you're going to lose a lot of people that bought into what Brian Kelly was trying to do. And I found this tweet, and I wanted to share it. Lon Phillips Sullivan, who we got to get back on our show here, but he retweeted this. This is from some guy called Tiger Vibes. He says, I've poured hundreds, maybe thousands of my hard-earned dollars into the NIL fund, mostly for football, after Brian Kelly shamelessly pleaded for LSU fans to give their money to build a championship-caliber roster, which he delivered. But Kelly has utterly betrayed that trust, repeating the same boneheaded mistakes, showing zero capacity to adapt, and recycling the same tired excuses after every humiliating loss, all while refusing to evolve the team's stagnant strategy. The blame lands squarely on his shoulders. I'm done with his relentless failure to meet the expectations here. And that's my kind of concern with if they do is if it does get bad and they go 8-4 and Brian Kelly and Brian Kelly and those with LSU go back out to the moneymakers at LSU and say, hey, it's time to go back in the transfer portal, guys. How much are you going to give us this time around?
So here's the thing. Let's look at worst case scenario. Let's say they do go 8-4, 7-5. Either way, they're missing the college football playoffs. But let's say that happens. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of. I was already concerned about could it be scalable? Could they continue to sustain that type of funding? But they're also going to show in January on their books an $8 million deficit for the first time in years that it's been that bad. Things are not going to be very good around here if that's the case.
Well, yeah. So
not good for the portal for Kelly, and not good for Woodward to hire a new coach either. And maybe Woodward won't get to hire the new coach.
No. So a lot on the line here for the LSU Tigers once they get back from the second, once they get back out off this bye. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, Rohan Davey, former LSU quarterback, will join us here on Tiger Rag Radio.
Y'all ready? Yeah. Let's go. Come on.
Tiger Rag Radio is on the air.
Let's crank this thing up.
We're statewide, breaking down the latest happenings with LSU athletics.
This is us.
Hear from the coaches,
Put together a defense that puts us in a position to win the SEC.
the players,
Having fun and we working, baby. That's it, baby.
the recruits,
Show some passion and some heart.
and those who cover the Fighting Tigers of LSU and the SEC.
All those things are going to be there, which are important.
It's 2 hours of nonstop LSU talk.
What a privilege. I mean, you get to represent LSU.
Tiger Rag Radio is brought to you by Cummins. Cummins creates power solutions that the world depends on. Helm Paint and Decorating. The paint experts of Louisiana. Louisiana Beef Industry Council. Max Home. And the East Baton Rouge Parish Library. Get ready to talk Tigers with producer Jackson Blackman and hosts Todd Horne, Jeff Palermo, and Glenn Guilbeau.
They're players that are better people than they are players.
This is Tiger Rag Radio, live from Super Chevy Dealers Studio.
Welcome back to Tiger Rag Radio here on Tuesday evening, and we're in the Super Chevy Studios. Todd Horne along with Glenn Guilbeau, and our special guest is former LSU quarterback Rohan Davey. How you doing tonight, Rohan?
I'm doing good, partner. How you guys doing?
Good.
Doing good. So let's just jump right into it, if you don't mind, Rohan. LSU's offense has been disappointing, to say the least. Talk of the town. They can't run the ball, but there's deeper problems than that. They don't seem to be able to. The offensive line doesn't seem to be able to block. They don't seem to be able to pass efficiently. Just a number of problems. What are you seeing when you watch the Tigers play these days?
I just see. It just depends on what side of the ball you focus on. Of course, I focus on the offense predominantly. I just see a disconnect. Honestly, I just see disconnect. I see disconnect with play calling. I see disconnect with concentration of what kind of identity and where they want the offense to go, whether it's disconnect between BK and Coach Sloan, disconnect between Nuss and Coach Sloan, disconnect between all three. But there's just definitely disconnect. There's no cohesiveness. There's no that relationship that you need to have between all three guys, and especially the offensive coordinator and the quarterback. It's not there, man, and it's showing with what they're doing offensively or lack of what they're doing offensively. Week 1 against Clemson was week 1. They had a long time to prepare for it, and you kind of saw something. And Clemson supposedly had a tough front that they were playing against, and I still think that front was decent. But from then on to date, you just have not seen where this offense wants to go as far as in the passing game, in the running game, whether trick plays are going to be part of the running game, whether it's Savion on the reverse or Beeren Brown on the reverse, or motioning Savion in the backfield and handing him the football there, throwing tear screens or whatever it may be. If that's a part of the running game, well, that's what it is. Let's just do it well. But you don't see where it is that we're going offensively. So it's just a total disconnect right now.
You're at quarterback, okay, and you're playing against Ole Miss, and you come to the line of scrimmage time and time again, and you're seeing a 3-man front against your 5 offensive linemen. What are you going to do?
Well, look, everyone has what they're going to do when you find 3-man front. And the biggest thing is, man, and these guys know this. It's not something that they haven't seen or haven't faced before. So the lack of really focus thereof of trying to get this done is not happening. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to run the football. You're going to make a conservative effort to try to at least run the football, especially against an Ole Miss team that's last in the world in rush defense. So that's the first thing that I'm going to try to do. And then as a passer, I'm going to understand one thing, that, he didn't have no time with us with them rushing 3, because they was rushing 3 and still getting home. But as a quarterback, you're thinking, okay, if they're rushing 3, that's 8 in coverage. So, I'm going to have to get this ball out quick, and it's mostly probably going to be something underneath.
Hey,
and those are the things.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rohan.
No, I mean, those are the things as you play against that type of a front from the quarterback perspective. Those are the things that goes through your mind because of what the front. Now, you hit some passes, you do this, and you get them out of it. Now they kick down into a 4-man front, and then, now you're getting them out of doing something that they're not used to doing or they don't want to do. And we just never did that. I mean, we haven't done it.
Rohan, when you're watching LSU's offense, do you notice how often Nussmeier audibles from a pass to a run, or can you tell, and has he done that much?
I really can't tell because, I mean, I know they have that option in the offense. I do. I can tell when it's blatant, I think, like everyone else. But if it's something subtle, like a hand gesture, that's just them. That's just him and the wide receivers communicating. But because in order for you to change it, you have to walk up to the line and you have to communicate that with everybody.
Right.
Now
right.
whether it's a blue-green check or opposite check, I may call it to the left, but the front has shifted to the left, so now it's opposite. But that's still in change, still the play. Now, if it's a blue-green check where, blue is in the sky, we're going to pass, green is grass, we're going to run, we may give them the blue first, but now they get into the formation where, okay, well, we can throw it. Well, here we go now, and we're switching it. So I've seen it a few times. It's not a lot. It's not a lot, though. He does not change the play at the line of scrimmage a lot.
We're talking
he doesn't do it enough for it to really, affect what's going on. But I have seen it.
We're talking to Rohan Davey, former LSU quarterback, great here on Tiger Rag Radio. Now, Rohan, when you've been watching Nussmeier this season, does it look to you like he's throwing, when he throws the ball, does it look like he's hurt or uncomfortable? What do you notice about that?
Well, let me say this. I've been privy enough to be around that kid this offseason and seeing him work out and throw the football around in the indoor. And the ball is flying off his hand, jumping off his hand. I said this after the 7-yard underthrown ball of Beeren Brown a couple weeks back.
Against Louisiana Tech, right.
That something is wrong. And that's because the kid could throw the ball anywhere on the field. And when I saw that, it triggered me because it triggered me and took me back to seeing him throw goal routes, 60-yard goal routes in the indoor to Hilton and the boys. And now it was a 33-yard pass, and the ball landed 6 yards behind him. And I said something was wrong there. So I do think something is wrong with him. I do think that. I don't know what it is for sure, but it's something. Has to do with something when opening up that cavity and having to release that football.
So you still saw that Saturday against Ole Miss?
Yes.
So, Rohan, what could, and I'm not asking you to be a mind reader or even have any of this knowledge, but what could it possibly be that motivates Brian Kelly to say that he's healthy if he's really not?
Well, I've thought about all that too, and I honestly, football, man, injuries are a part of football. We see it all the time. Your star guy gets injured, he's out for a year, out for a considerable amount of time. It's just what it is. The only thing that could ever come to my mind about it is now you're in this day and age of NIL, and you're in this day where guys have agents already, and they're already communicating with NFL teams and already getting draft grades and all that type of stuff. So I don't know if there's something just to keep it under wraps so it doesn't affect him somehow later on in the draft process or evaluation process or something of that nature. I don't know. That's the only thing that comes to my mind when I think of this, because I'm like, if the kid's hurt, he's hurt.
And if he is hurt, NIL things aside, do you put in Michael Van Buren, not necessarily as the replacement as a starter, but at least to give him some reps and give him some action in a game?
Well, I would be careful with it, because if you're now, because when you do that now, it's a lot of contradictory stuff that has been said already with, like you said, them not disclosing the injury, then saying, okay, we're on the good side of the injury now, so he can't hurt himself anymore, he'll be fine. So now if you swap and take him out, what you're saying is, because, as bad as the loss was to Ole Miss, you still have everything in front of you. When you look at it just from a football perspective, you can still have all the things that you want to accomplish this year still in front of you. So if you say that now, you're saying, okay, one, he's more hurt than we let on, and now it's, okay, we have to go to Van Buren because he cannot physically do what it is that we need to do that he needs to do as a quarterback for us as an offense to be able to maneuver the football down the field.
So it's about saving face or what?
Well, I wouldn't have it about saving face. I would just say that it'll put a spotlight now on everything that they've told us up to this point, dealing with Nuss and the injury, to now say, okay, we were wrong. He's more hurt than we thought. He can't do this, can't do that. We're going with the backup quarterback.
How important is this break, 2-week break before South Carolina, and can LSU's offense turn it around? Can they develop some semblance of a running game, or do they need to do that in order to be successful for the rest of the season?
Well, man, listen, I don't have any high hopes for the offense at this point after this, with a month going in the season already, and we've been seeing the same thing up until this point. There hasn't even been a little inclination of trending in the right direction when it comes to the offense. And so, you can get one of those games where, a guy gets hot, such as Nuss. If we come out of this break and this break really helps him to heal, if this break really helps whatever the injury is, that, it gets better and get better, and they could do some things more, strategic to keep him off of it with the break. And, maybe Van Beeren can take some more reps with the ones, or take some more reps, period, just to take some of the reps off of him. But then it's like, you need reps because you guys aren't in sync in no way, shape, or form. So it's like a double-edged sword with it. But the most important thing for him right now and for the team is for him to get as healthy as possible.
Does LSU have a development problem, especially when it comes to their offensive line? They hadn't been able to have a running game for 3 years, minus Jaden Daniels.
Well, it's something that you have to look at, look at how we're recruiting that position, look at the guys that are being brought in because, whether it's because of stars or, because of suggestions. I think that is definitely something that you have to look at because, the thing is for me, even if you can't conventionally run the football, if you can't line up and just hand it off to your guy and they break it and you establish a running game that way. Now, you're trying to do all these other things with the tail screens and the screens to the backs and the dump downs and so on and so forth. And that's fine if that's going to be an extension of your running game. But don't start it, then go away from it, then start it, then go away from it. Stick to what, if that's part of what your identity is, stick to it and perfect it.
So what are your projections for the remainder of the season right now?
Well, if the offense doesn't get going, it's going to be a tough sledding anyway, because what you saw some things with the defense that, and granted, they was on the field a lot, and I don't fault them for anything, but you saw some things with the blitzing scheme that we run that, Ole Miss was able to hit at some point, and dual threat quarterbacks always hurt that kind of a system, especially with one that played as well as Chambliss did. But going forward, man, look, I predicted, I think at the beginning of the season that we'll end up 9-3, and
looking good.
Yeah, I know. I think I might have to go. Just depending on how we look right now, if we just based it on this, I'll have to say I have to go north of that and go 8-4.
Or south of that.
South of that, yeah.
South of that, that's right.
That's right. All right, Rohan Davey, thank you for your time, and we appreciate we're going to have you back on the show soon. I really appreciate your insight.
Appreciate you guys, man. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Rohan.
All right, we'll be right back here on Tiger Rag Radio.
Chevy trucks have you covered when the road takes you from smooth sailing to Chevy Colorado will eat up some of the toughest terrains with 5 available drive modes. And Silverado and Silverado HD have the muscle to take you out for some serious with multiple engine options and impressive towing. While Silverado EV is the perfect combo of performance and capability, making it a snap to hitch up this electric truck and hit the road. Wherever the road leads, Chevy trucks are right there with you. See your Super Chevy dealers today.
Tiger Rag Radio is back on the air, live from Super Chevy Dealers Studio.
Back here on Tiger Rag Radio, great stuff there from former LSU quarterback Rohan Davey on the Max Home Hotline. We got one more guest coming up for you. That's Charles Hanagriff, another solid, knowledgeable guy when it comes to LSU football. So, of course, Charles Hanagriff on ESPN 104.5 and 104.9 in Baton Rouge. You can hear him with Jimmy Ott every day from 11 to 1. I know the hours change, I believe, on Monday and Friday, if I'm correct on that. And, of course, then you hear him post-game on the flagship station of the LSU Sports Radio Network, the Eagle 98.1, and I think 104.5 as well, following LSU postgame once they're done with Hunt Palmer and all those guys, Marlon Favorite. But so we have guys, we heard it from Preston, from Tiger Bait, and now we heard it from Rohan Davey, a couple of 8-4s being thrown out there all of a sudden.
8-4 might be good. I had 10-2.
That would not be good, Glenn. I'm
no,
sorry.
I mean it might be good from this point. It wouldn't be good overall, but I mean they could go worse than 8-4.
Anything below 9-3 to me is a disaster of a season.
Yeah, probably so. You're right. And I was thinking, he's if he survives the season, if they don't go to the playoffs,
I think he's surviving.
Oh, you think he's going to survive?
I
don't go to the playoffs.
I don't see how they can pay the buyout.
Right, exactly.
Let me ask you a question. Let's just assume for a second, okay, that they can figure out a way to pay the buyout.
All right.
If they figure out a way to pay the buyout or negotiate a way to pay the buyout, does he survive if they're 8-4?
I'm still going to lean yes. I think I'm still going to lean yes. Now, again, if they go back out on this, this tour that they basically did after Bryce Underwood ditched them, with it was Brian Kelly and Austin Thomas going to all the heavy hitters. And I forgot who wrote it in the Advocate. Was it Koke or was it Wilson?
It was Wilson.
Wilson. And by the way, we do need to say our prayers and thoughts go to Wilson Alexander, and he lost his wife to the battle of a rare form of cancer, and that's just absolutely horrible. So we're thinking about you, Wilson, and just a really horrible situation. But Wilson's a terrific writer, and one of the best pieces that he had was how LSU basically went on this, money bag tour of trying to get as much money as possible to go into the transfer portal and invest heavily in it and really get this roster to a championship level. If they try to go back out there again and find out that, no thanks, guys. I put my money into it last year and I got 8-4 out of it, or I got 9-3 out of it.
Whereas if the guy going out on that tour is a new coach, they will give money.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
And because like I was thinking, well, if they don't go to the playoffs and they somehow keep Kelly, he's going to have to, I would say he's going to have to hire a new offensive coordinator and a new offensive line coach. But, once you start doing that,
those are signs of trouble.
Yeah, you might as well just hire a new coach.
Yeah.
And I think where Kelly's at in his career, and he's 65,
he's 63.
I'm sorry, 63. They might come to an agreement or something. But, we are getting a little ahead of ourselves.
Yes, we are.
He lost one game by less than a touchdown that he could have won no matter how poorly
and
they played.
Were not favored to win, by the way.
And it was on the road, and it may be the best team in the SEC. You don't know. Ole Miss did not look like the best team.
Right.
And they haven't looked like the best team in other games this year. But you never know. Who is the best team this year?
I still think that's the life of the Southeastern Conference this year. I know Alabama beat Georgia this week, but Alabama could turn around and lose to Vanderbilt again this week. And Georgia could come back and they could beat Texas later on this year.
And if LSU – go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying, I still think this is a league where going 12-0, again, unless you're playing Texas's schedule, or going 11-1, it's very difficult to do that nowadays.
You guys remember in 2023 watching that defense? How long did it take you before you realized that if LSU was going to win games in 2023, and they ended up winning 10, counting the bowl game, that they were going to have to outscore their opponents?
Well, I think the Ole Miss game was the perfect example of that.
That's when he brought in Pete Jenkins after that game.
Right.
All I need is, he told Pete, I need 2 stops a game. Can you imagine? He had like 16 stops Saturday.
So fast forward to this year.
Right.
I don't think anybody in this studio, probably anybody in the city or state, would have figured that this offense was going to be, as to use Preston Guy's term, putrid as it is. But I think it's the writing's on the wall, like Rohan said. He has no hopes for it to improve that much moving forward. Well, they're probably going to get beaten because of the offense at least a few more times this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who's the best defense on their schedule?
Oklahoma, probably.
Well, what about A&M?
Yeah, A&M's good too, but Oklahoma's at this point in the season, I would think Oklahoma's the highest ranked defense that they would face. I don't have that in front of me, but we have to go look at it.
Yeah.
My question though is isn't the handwriting on the wall kind of at this point following the Ole Miss game that the offense is not going to be able to score 30 points a game moving forward?
Yeah, I would say that was on the wall before the Ole Miss game, but definitely now.
All right, we'll take a break. Charles Hanagriff from Baton Rouge ESPN Radio will join us when we come back here on Tiger Rag Radio.
The hot summer months are in the year view mirror. Let's enjoy fall and have a fun time doing it with your East Baton Rouge Parish Library. The 12th annual Baton Rouge Maker Faire will feature movie magic on October 18th. And go back in time with the library on October 25th with Talking About a Revolution, an all-day patriotic event. Have fun with all of the library's silly, spooky programs for adults, teens, and kids. Visit ebrpl.com for more details.
You should call that radio station and let him have it.
Good idea. 1-800-673-5555.
I want to be under the bright lights. I want to be on the Broadway stage.
Tiger Rag Radio is on now.
Back here on Tiger Rag Radio from the Super Chevy Dealers Studio, Jeff Palermo along with the executive editor for Tiger Rag Magazine, Todd Horne, and the editor, Glenn Guilbeau. And we go back out to the Max Home Hotline, one of our favorite guests, and that is Charles Hanagriff of ESPN 104.5 and 104.9 in Baton Rouge. And, of course, you can hear him post games, also on Guarantee Broadcasting following the LSU Sports Radio Network post game show. Him and Richard Dixon do an outstanding job, and Charlie has done that for years with a whole bunch of different fellows, including, well, I won't mention one of the guys, but you've had a lot of great partners during those shows. But Charlie, I would imagine you heard from some very frustrated fans following Saturday night's loss to Ole Miss.
Oh, it was old school post game. Just one rapid fire right after the other. It was about as frustrated. It's as frustrating a loss as I've heard and seen, and believe me, we kind of felt the same way in quite a while.
Charles, I caught a few minutes of your lunch show with Jimmy this afternoon, and the segment I caught, you were talking about the positives of this. And can you refresh my memory and enlighten our audience about what the positives were?
Todd needs something positive, Charles.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is not necessarily, I can tell you, this is going to get, better for LSU or whatever. I can tell you that there have been 12 games played in the Southeastern Conference so far this year. The average margin of victory in those 12 games is 9. And 9 of the 12 have been decided by a touchdown or less, including the one that we're talking about now. So LSU played poorly, coached poorly, played what is now a top 5 team on the road, and lost by 5 points. Okay, so there's there's not a lot of difference in the top teams in the SEC right now. That may be different in a month. Georgia's played 2 games; it could have swung on one play. So is Tennessee. Texas A&M played a game very similar to what Ole Miss did this past weekend, where they dominated the yardstick but had double-digit penalties. I think they had 13 penalties where Ole Miss had 14. So my point of it was, listen, LSU's got problems, a lot of them, but so does everybody else, and there's not that dominant Alabama or Georgia team that we've seen in past years.
Is LSU Are LSU's problems fixable at all, in your opinion?
The offensive line problems, I think they're only fixable to a degree, because if you've had camp and 5 weeks and this is the product you're getting, and they've switched personnel. I'll tell you, we just finished a film study. I'm most encouraged by the freshman, Carius Kern. He made some mental mistakes. He made some technique mistakes, but at least he'll hit you. You know, he'll go out there and he'll fight you. I don't see that from all of them. So I think some of that is fixable. Some of the techniques are just really, really poor. The quarterback, I don't know. He's got some physical issues. I don't think he's injured, but I do think he's hurt. And when I say I don't think he's injured, I mean to the point where it would keep him out of the game, because if it was, Brian Kelly wouldn't play him. His father would say, listen, I know what a hurt quarterback looks like. I played the position. I coached the position. I'm not going to let my son go out there if he's hurt, if he's injured. I'm sorry.
Right.
But I do think he's hurt. And how much pain tolerance and how much of this will get better with a week off, I don't know. But he's also making some mental mistakes, things that you wouldn't expect a fifth-year guy to do. And a lot of it is with accuracy, but a lot of it was just with decision-making. And that's troublesome, because that should be fixed by now too.
Charles, sometimes when I listen to your show, you sound like a self-help psychologist.
Well, I do that on it's my side hustle, Glenn.
I hear you. What was the most popular question or opinion from your callers after the game?
Well, there's just questions about Nussmeier. Okay, I mean, it doesn't take a quarterback coach to see that he is obviously struggling with some throws. The throw to Xavion Thomas, which went for 50 yards, we just looked at this thing from the end zone view. The safety comes over from outside the opposite hash and almost makes a play on the ball. That's how long it hung up there. So
it was a punt.
That's the first.
It was a punt.
Yeah, that's the first part. The second part is and I was kind of leading the charge on this is, no, the running game is not good right now, and it hasn't been good for a long time. But if you're not even going to try, then it's not going to get any better. And if you're not going to try against three-man fronts, if you're not going to try against what was the worst rushing defense in the Southeastern Conference, then when are you ever going to have any kind of balance? I mean, if you can't run it against this group, and then you hear Brian Kelly say yesterday, I didn't like our plan against what was dropping 8 about 85% of the time. Well, I mean, everybody saw that Saturday. This is not some exotic zone look or 46 defense that, Buddy Ryan's, 85 Bears ran. This is just drop 8 and rush 3 and get home with 3 to get the quarterback, rushed. I mean, gracious, what do you do with that?
Did Kelly make a mistake putting Sloan in the offensive coordinator position?
I don't think that Sloan's done a very good job of sequencing his plays, but I think the problem is more rooted in the fact that this offensive line is underachieved for the past 5 years. They've done it with experienced players. They've done it with young players. They've done it with really talented players. They finished last in the SEC in rushing last year and still managed to get 4 guys drafted. So that tells you it's not a talent standpoint, that there's something else afoot here, and we look at bad technique a lot with these guys. So I'm not telling you that Sloan's done a great job of calling plays, but the offensive line problems to me are at the root of everything that ails this offense. If they were playing at a higher level, I think you'd have a few more options with what to do with this thing. So I think that is the greater problem. I don't think Sloan's done a good job, but I think the greater problem is with the offensive line.
Charles, last year, Todd and I were trying to remember. We think it was after the Texas A&M game that Kelly got a little more involved in the offense. Is that how you remember it?
It's so hard to tell because you're not on a headset. That might be right. I'd have to go back and look at it, Glenn. I don't remember exactly. If you would make, a real big change here in the off week, it would be for Brian Kelly to pick up a play sheet. I don't expect
That's
him to
what it
do
was.
that.
Right.
But, but he's clearly not happy with the type of offensive balance they have. And how could you be? That was my number one takeaway from the game. Besides the potential health of the quarterback, is you're not running the football because you're not trying. You're really not even trying to run the football. We just finished this film study where you're looking at. I promise you, there was a play where there was almost nobody inside the hash marks. It was so open, and they still tried to throw the ball into it.
That's amazing. I'm wondering, did you note after Kelly started carrying the play card last year, did you notice any differences in the offense, and do you think he's going to do that again?
I don't know if he's going to do it again, but what I noticed was there was more balance to it.
Okay.
There was more running of the football. And if I remember, after the A&M game, they got routed by Alabama. They just got blown off the field that week. It was the 3 weeks after that. So maybe it was, and Nussmeier played pretty well in the first half against A&M. It was the second half where he didn't play well, and of course Marcel Reed ran all over the place. Probably maybe after the Alabama game. Now that I give it a little bit more thought.
Right, I got you. Yeah,
and more balance, more balance, which means more running.
So, how could they? I'm just trying in my mind to figure out what they could possibly do for this running game coming out of the open date to improve it, and I can't think of anything because they simply can't block.
Well, Charles says try it more, and I think that's one thing. I never forget. Saban once said, you got to keep running, even if you're only getting 2 yards. You got to keep running, and they don't do that.
Glenn, the most glaring example of that when Saban was a coach, we have Rohan Davey on our Sunday show. It was the first year that Rohan was a quarterback, 2001, and they weren't having any success with it at all at the beginning of the season. And yes, they did keep after it because Saban was a stickler for balance. I realize the game was being played at a different time. It's 25 years ago now. But Jimbo Fisher, you go back and watch him for whatever faults you think Jimbo has. Jimbo was balanced on neutral downs. I mean, we used to joke about it on the postgame show. He had 2 jars and a bag of M&Ms, and one jar had R on it and one had P on it, and they had to stay on that scale, and you could never put more M&Ms in the R jar than the P jar. So they were balanced, and right now they're anything but.
Guys, it's been a good conversation here, Charlie. We've heard some predictions about an 8-4 regular season record. Could you see it getting that bad, Charlie?
There's 6 games left on the schedule that could go either way. Honestly, they'll beat Western Kentucky. The other 6 games they could win or lose.
Yeah.
And I'm dead serious about that. I mean, there's degree. Alabama's better than Arkansas. I get it, but I don't think any of those 6 games are put it in the win column or put it in the loss column right now.
All right. Thanks, man. We appreciate it. Enjoy your Saturday off.
Hey, we will, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right. Charles Hanagriff, always outstanding job from ESPN Baton Rouge. Joined us on the Max Home Hotline. Let's take a break from the Super Chevy Dealer Studio. More Tiger Rag Radio coming up right after this.
Now, back to Tiger Rag Radio, live from Super Chevy Dealer Studio.
Back here on Tiger Rag Radio. It's been a interesting show. A lot of negativity here tonight on Tiger Rag Radio, and you could just get the sense. I thought that was interesting to hear from Charlie about since he's been doing these post-game shows for, gosh, I mean, it's over 25 years he's been doing this, and so he's seen it all. He's heard it all on that post-game show, and he says this is his most frustrated as an LSU fan base has been. And again, I think a lot of it is the expectation. I think a lot of it is that, not only are, and it's not all fans that are contributing to NIL, but there's a heck of a lot more fans contributing more and more money. Before it used to be, you paid your tickets, your tradition fund, and your parking, and now they're asking every time you turn around as a fan, especially if you're a season ticket holder or any kind of a contributor to the program, every time you turn around, they're asking you for more money. And I think that's where some of that frustration comes from. And then when you watch a team that's bad offensively. I think you start getting some kind of flashbacks to the Les Miles era, right? Like when the defense was bad, it was just like I think as a fan, you just kind of felt helpless. Well, the defense is bad. What are you going to do? But LSU's had such a good run of entertaining offenses and great offenses. And I think it was said before we got Charlie on that nobody expected the offense to struggle the way it has struggled so far this year.
I said that, and I agree that nobody expected it, and I think it did come out of nowhere. And one of the things that we discussed with Charlie was, did he think that Brian Kelly made a mistake hiring Joe Sloan as his offensive coordinator to replace Mike Denbrock, who, of course, went to Notre Dame. And, T-Bob Hebert was talking.
Barstool.
And he was talking on Twitter, or posting on Twitter, that they were promoting Sloan to co-offensive coordinator, and Denbrock didn't like that. And they were doing that because they were getting Underwood in, and they wanted to have him as a co-offensive coordinator, and that's why they basically ran Denbrock off.
Well, you never get one coach involved with a player. The player's got to come for the program, and you're not seeing that as much anymore.
No,
because these big time recruiters, they're kind of put in the background now because you have NIL. Guys used to come to a school just for a coach sometimes. So that's weird how that all went down. But I will say I didn't think LSU's offense would be this bad, but I knew there were going to be problems when you start 5 brand new offensive linemen. I didn't know Garrett Nussmeier was going to be hurt and the passing game was going to be as bad. But I didn't. And when you can't run, when you got 4 guys who get drafted last year, I knew they weren't going to be able to run this year. But I thought they'd be able to run a little better against Ole Miss.
Well, how come other teams can bring in 4- and 5-star offensive lineman recruits and develop running games, but LSU can't?
Yeah. Well, if Kelly does survive this season with a few more losses, I think you could look for a change at offensive line coach and offensive coordinator.
Yeah,
probably is what's going to happen if you still have Kelly.
I don't know if I should throw this question. Let's take a break, and then we'll come back, and we'll wrap up the show. This is Tiger Rag Radio from the Super Chevy Dealer Studio. We got one more segment to go, so stay tuned for that here on Tiger Rag Radio.
How you doing? This is Snoop Dogg.
Tiger Rag Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you are tuned in.
Talk LSU sports, interviews, opinions, and your calls around the Tiger Nation.
Baton Rouge was a life for me. Home with LSU Tigers.
Now more Tiger Rag Radio.
We love to score and get highlights and championships and play to win.
Tiger Rag Radio.
Back here, lively show tonight from the Super Chevy Dealer Studio. Had some great guests as well. Preston Guy from TigerBait.com, Rohan Davey, former LSU quarterback, and Charles Hanagriff from ESPN Baton Rouge. The question I was going to ask you guys before I decided let's just go ahead and take our final break is, we've certainly taken shots at Brian Kelly. We've criticized the offensive line and Joe Sloan and Brad Davis, and talked about the running backs. But what do you think of this group of wide receivers? Are they? Is it? It's not Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors out there. And I mean, is this wide receiving core as good as we thought going into the season?
I think they're good wide receivers, but I don't think they have a great one.
No.
And they don't have a guy who's a good one-on-one receiver when the ball's close and he's well covered. I don't see those guys making the catches. And, they've got some pretty good guys. If Nussmeier was healthier and had a little more time, they'd probably look a lot better. But I don't think they're great wide receivers.
I don't think that we've seen enough of it because I don't think that they've been able to pass enough to them the way they would like to.
Pass enough to them.
Yeah.
Because they're doing the short passes and the screens.
Yeah.
Because they have to.
Yeah.
That's to hide the offensive line.
Yeah. So I think that's a big part of the problem as far as that goes.
But not having a breakout season from Chris Hilton has been a disappointment.
Well,
right.
Whenever you're 7 yards behind the defense and the 60-yard pass goes.
Yeah, but has he really been that open?
He's been open. He was open on Saturday.
But he got a slow start. I mean, he caught one pass through the first 3 games. I think he's only got about 4 or 5 catches now.
How many targets?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he's damaged by Garrett being hurt.
And we don't know how badly injured Aaron Anderson is.
That's something I can't believe we're just now talking about for the first time, because he was their leading receiver last year, and he's obviously crucial to the way they're having to throw the ball right now. If he's down, I mean, that's big. Especially with what they're having to the remedy for their offense right now. I mean,
I am impressed and intrigued with Kyle Parker.
Yeah, he had a good game.
I think he's a guy that flashes. You're still waiting for like that huge moment from Beeren Brown. You almost had it in the season opener against Clemson. It got taken away from him, but you haven't had that. So it's been disappointing. Been really disappointing. Wednesday should be an interesting day because we talked about it earlier in the show. Brian Kelly, tomorrow is the SEC Zoom press conferences, and then Brian Kelly also meets with local reporters tomorrow night. So we'll get about 30 minutes of questions, 25 maybe. 10 with the SEC, maybe 15 to 20 over at LSU, and we'll see. We'll see what Brian has to say.
So, what do you think? There's going to be any combat going on, or do you think it's going to be?
I think Brian Kelly is going to. No, I don't think he's saying he's going to be combative with the reporters. Or
you think somebody's like Michael Cobble's going to ask him a question?
No, I think he's probably thought really hard and is. About what he's going to say, and I think he's really going to sell it that this is still a really good team, and if they, I guess to go back to that soundbite that I played from Paul Finebaum, if they're more detailed oriented, a lot of these issues that this team is dealing with will be fixed.
Well, I'm not going to be at the press conference, but I know Glenn will probably be at the press conference.
Yes.
I'm just hoping somebody, Glenn, ask if he's still bullish on his offensive line.
Yeah.
See, that's why you need to go to a press conference every now and then instead of just sitting out here telling us what to do. But that would be a good question for sure.
Yeah.
Of course, he might say, "Well, we got to try to run more."
Yeah.
Which is a good point, and lose the O of the RPO and call a run that's a run.
All right, guys, we got to get out of here. For Glenn Guilbeau, Todd Horne, I'm Jeff Palermo. Thanks for listening to Tiger Rag Radio. For the latest when it comes to Tiger Rag, or from the latest in LSU athletics, check out Tiger Rag Magazine.
Tiger Rag is everywhere. Online at TigerRag.com. Like us on Facebook at Facebook.com/Tiger Rag Magazine. Or follow us on Twitter at Tiger_Rag.